Hi, so in this video I'm going to continue implementing MPV integration for my search in subs script that allows you to search for words in subtitle files and then play with the MPV integration. You can also play those search results in MPV player. So here's a demonstration. So I'm searching for a word wiki in this subtitle file that also has a video next to it, and then I pass the -p option to play and I press enter. We get the EDL file generated with chapters, one for each search result, and so that's all working great. We also have the search results in the terminal, which you can silence if you don't want to see them with the Q option. And if you only want to watch, that's also available. But basically what we are going to be working on today is implementing these two options. They're really one option, just one is to set the thing and the other one is to unset it. Basically what this is for is right now the script is trying to find the video file next to the subtitle file in the same directory, but there is no like safeguard against the situations where it can't find the file. And so what happens in that case, so what I did here is I just copied this same file that we are searching in, but I called it novideo.srt, and it won't be able to find any video because there's no video that starts with no video, and then like .mkv, for example. So that's not there. And when we run this, let me also keep the files so that we can take a look at what it generates in the text editor later. So when I press enter, at first it plays, but then you can see that like there's this like later range, like when it
Man kan ju få in, jag tänker Wikimini kan och Wikimini.
It just reaches the end and then it can't play any further, and it's kind of weird. And the reason for that is because in the current situation, basically there is like no file name that gets put into this EDL file, and that's the reason for that bug. So we are going to fix that by adding these options. And basically what it's gonna do is, like, when you set ignore missing, it will just still create an EDL file, but it will skip everything that it couldn't find, and it also will print a warning in the terminal saying that, like, hey, for these files there are no videos, no corresponding video file was found. So that's when ignore missing. So with no ignore missing, it won't generate anything, and it will print the error message again saying which files were missing. Or like rather, it will list the subtitle files for which there was no video file found. Yeah, so the short version of this option is O and dash, or lowercase o and capital O. I figured it's like for omit, as in like omit missing files. There's also an O in ignore, so that still works. But we are kind of running out of letters at this point because there's a lot of options already. So, but we are gonna go ahead and add that, and we're already kind of reaching a point where this is kind of the last option that I want to implement, and then I also have some thoughts, maybe making some small improvements, but we'll see about that. Let's start with by working on this. So I'll add the O and the capital O to the short versions. They require no arguments, so no colons following those letters. And let me just copy the name of the option from here and paste it right here. EDL ignore missing and EDL no ignore missing. This is so that GetOpt knows that these are valid options and it allows them during parsing. So we'll also need to add a variable for this, so it's going to be called just exactly like the long version of the option, prefixed with an opt and with all the hyphens replaced with underscores. So ignore missing, EDL ignore missing equals, oops, I typed a hyphen there. And so what's the default for that? Let me see. I think I thought about this before, and I'll just check my notes. New tab new notes man update. Yeah, by default I decided to use the ignore missing. Well, that makes sense. So I'll go with that. So we'll set it to 1 for true, and when there is nothing, then that it refers to false, because bash doesn't have booleans. And this is a way to do the same thing as a boolean would. Opt EDL ignore missing. Okay. So I'll just copy these two options and edit them. O, capital O. Ignore missing. No. Ignore missing. And let me grab that variable and place it here. Okay, so we've added the necessary things to the option parsing part. And now, I mean, the check itself should be very, very simple. Basically, well, maybe there's a couple of things that are sort of like a little bit more complex, but it's not super complicated, I don't think. I'll create an array here called missing equals array. Like, this is not really required, but this helps to keep the code organized and just tell someone who reads it, like, like an array will be used somewhere here. Yeah, like you could just start adding things to like a variable that's never been created, and like I could go like plus equals something here, and that would create an array and just like add to it. So that's this is just for readability purposes. And then, like, okay, so in this loop loops through the files, and this part. Okay, so this at this point we already know if there was a video file found. Like, I'm not gonna like get into the the algorithm, but basically it could this glob could match more than one file, and it will assume that the right file is the first one that it finds. That's the video file that we're after. I might come back to it later in this video to explain in more details about this algorithm and maybe even improve it, but we'll see. So yes, we can check the length of that array video file. If it's 0, then it means that there was no match. That's exactly the situation that we had here, where we it added an empty string here because because this variable was empty. So that's the reason for that. And if the file is missing, actually, yeah, this already won't make sense to do. So we can even make the script a bit more efficient by adding this check. But it will also allow us to gather information on what files are missing and then present it to the user. So video file, like if it equals 0, then we'll do the thing with the check. Or maybe I can say I'll do it like the other way around. I'll start with, if it's greater than 0, then we'll do all of the usual stuff. But otherwise we will do something else, and namely we will add to the array, to that missing array, the subtitle file. Yeah, actually not even the subtitle file, but this value, because this is gonna be the path as it was passed on the command line. Like maybe I could briefly explain what this exclamation mark does. It's basically like this loop starts at 1 with I equals 1, and then it loops until the I is less than or equal to the like this variable, and this number sign variable holds the number of positional arguments that was passed. So like if we passed like 3 files, then this number will be 3. So this means that the loop will go from 1 to 3. And this exclamation mark, that's called indirect expansion, and that will basically interpret the content of this variable as sort of like as the variable name. And so when I is equal to 1, this will be equivalent to saying $1. When I is equal to 2, this will be equivalent to saying $2, and so on. So the I will refer to the name of the variable itself. So that's how that works. And so over here we can just add that to the missing array. And let me see. So if the file is missing, that means that we also can skip all of this. Or I mean, yeah, we should skip all of this, because then something will still get generated. So let's see. Actually, let me take a short break and come back in a few minutes to continue working on this. Okay, so let's continue. So I thought I would rename actually this variable to something more clear, like missing video files. And over here as well, let me check this thing. Yeah, but that's it. Okay, missing video files. Now, subtitle. So like in here, if the video file is missing, we just don't need to worry about any of this stuff. So we need to, in addition to just like adding that file to an array of missing files, we need to leave the script an indication that the current file that we're working with is missing. So I'll call the variable to represent that video file missing, and when it's set to nothing, that will mean that it's not missing. When it's set to 1, that will mean that it is missing. And with that in mind, we'll add this here to say that yes, the current video file is missing, so take that into account. And over here optdl play, so at first let's check if that's like optdl play is enabled, but then if video file is not missing by like inverting the logic there with the exclamation mark. So if optdl play is enabled and video file is present, then proceed to generate lines for the EDL scripts. Okay, so that should be fine. Let's see what happens if we run things now. Okay, so we did pass that no video file, but now let's see what got created here. Now we didn't get any of those lines that were saying that it was here in video, or like in subtitles as well. There were lines, but they weren't. There wasn't the missing file because the subtitle file is there. But the point is, like, those lines are not there anymore for the file that was missing, and that's what we want. Yeah, so like in any case, whether we ignore missing or don't ignore missing, they are missing, so we don't need that information in the EDL file because it's completely useless. It's not going to do anything. One thing though, like if we're going to be ignoring, we don't need to even create any lines at all. So it's sort of like, yeah, like none of this needs to be run if there was like at least one missing file already. Like we don't need to bother. So we can add a check for that as well, and that would be, or maybe like I could leave this alone. But yeah, like why run on all that stuff if it's not gonna be used, right? So how's that condition gonna look? It's like if opt ignore missing, optdl ignore missing is not set. So like, or rather set. Yes, if it's set and if there was at least one missing file. So there's gonna be like this complex check here, I guess. Not sure what I should put first, but let's take it one step at a time. So it's gonna be if, let me copy that variable, optdl ignore missing, is set and the length of missing video files is equal, the length of that is equal to, or like rather it's greater, let me see, so this needs to pass if stuff needs to be done. So to invert this, if neither of these conditions are met, so optdl ignore missing and there are some files to ignore already, so greater than 0. Yeah, we actually don't need the EDL files missing, or like video file missing over here. I'm not sure if we will ever need it, because this should be actually enough and cover both of those cases that I was thinking about. Let's see. Because, yeah, like in this case, we're checking, it's like the file will be added at this point already to this array, and the length will already be greater than 0. So, but wait, the length will be greater than 0. But what if like EDL ignore missing this is if we are ignoring missing, like that's all that needs to be done. If there is at least one missing, if we're ignoring them and there is at least one missing, then this is it, like we know that we don't need to run what follows this. But if optdl ignore missing is set, but the file is missing, then yeah. Okay, no, we need both to cover both cases. When we do check for to cover both cases, when in one case we this is for the case when we are ignoring missing. So if there's at least one of them already missing, then we don't need to do anything anymore here. But if we are not, sorry, like oh man. Yeah, but I think this should be right. I mean, I'm just like got overwhelmed with logic there. Because it's complex. Let's see.
Att man som står där.
Yeah. Let me set that thinking aside because I'm just gonna get stuck on that. I think this is correct. So okay. And in this case, yeah, okay. This variable is needed too, and yeah, both of them do stuff. Okay. Now to the part where the actual files do or do not get created. So essentially, the first thing that we're saying here, like if there were matches and we're like opti-DL play was enabled, then if ignoring missing when we're ignoring missing files, we still want to play whatever, if there is anything to play, basically. Up to the L, ignore missing. Sure, let's start with the case where we don't ignore them, because that's gonna be the case where we can like abandon them, the whole generation part. So like this entire part with where stuff gets generated does not need to be done if there was anything that's like, yeah, confuses me a little bit. But deal ignore missing. So what if we don't ignore missing files, but like none of the files had matching videos? Are we gonna display a warning or an error? I guess, yeah, I guess an error because, but then like, no, still a warning, and like maybe another message that says like, it should exit with success because we said like ignore missing files, so nothing really went wrong according to that logic. There's just nothing to play, so the player won't open. Okay, let's take it kind of step by step. Missing video files. So if we're not ignoring missing files and there were some missing, this is basically what it's saying, then we need to throw an error. And I will copy this as a template for the error because it contains some stuff that we will need. So this is kind of a simple case actually. So we can say that the following let me just check. I had this note here, or like an update to the man page. Warning messages shown listing subtitle files. So I can just say video files for like, I don't know, video files corresponding to the following subtitle files. Or maybe like no video files corresponding to the following subtitle files could be identified. Then we will list all of those files the missing video files, and then we'll say a set dash. Let me copy that from here. Set dash O or dash dash DL ignore missing to skip those what did I write in this page? An error message shown listings up to the file. Something like this, to skip segments with missing video files. So let's see. EDL ignore missing. What is the default? I guess this is what the default is, just is to ignore them, but this is for the case where they're not ignored. And yes, no video files corresponding to the following subtitle files could be identified. No video SRT. Set EDL ignore missing to skip segments. With missing video files. Okay, so so yeah, like it exits here, and I don't really need to enclose the rest of the stuff into, and not like into this else part. That's fine. So yeah, that would only complicate the code unnecessarily. Okay, so what about the other case where we want a warning message? It will be a similar thing. But in this case, if optDL ignore missing is set and there are missing video files, then I guess, I mean, I could just like do something else here actually. I can just first check if there are any missing video files, or let me think about that later. So what's the code for the yellow? I think it's 34 or 33, something like that. 33. So this is gonna be a warning. No video files corresponding to the following subtitle files could be identified, and listing them. And then maybe that's not needed in this case, but we can do another check and say like if the length of the missing video files array is equal to the number of positional arguments, which means basically that all the files were missing, like there was no video files found at all, then we can also add a message that notifies the user of that. No EDL files were generated because no man, like this phrasing stuff, because no video files could be found. I don't know, I'll think about it later. So yeah, and then we don't need to exit unless unless this happens. In this case we do need to exit, but without an error, just normally. Although, wait a second, no, we can't exit here because there's still stuff that happens after that. Okay, so I'll need to put this code into an if statement after all. It's gonna be like else. Yeah, I mean, I wish it like didn't have to do this, but I don't really see any other way. I mean, I could create like a function and put that code into a function, but no, like. That wouldn't really clean it up. Just move it to like a different place. I don't know. Let me see, what am I copying and where am I copying it? Where am I copying it to, rather? Like this? Man, okay. let's run this and see. Let's remove that first. Like, let's just. Okay, I obviously moved something that. I guess like the generation does not occur anymore. Okay, so. What is happening? Okay. Oh, like this. Okay, so. No. Okay. Oh man. This says greater than 0. Missing video files length greater than 0, but it's not greater than 0 in this case, so this never happens. So what? ADL, TDL ignore missing. I guess I need to put it outside of that thing. You know, when it starts getting like this, it's just kind of very difficult to like. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this is just a warning message that will. But I mean, this can only happen if. Yeah, I think. Okay, I think this. Okay, yeah. Let's now try with the missing video. No video files corresponding to this file could be identified. What if I now just only search in that file? No ideal files were generated because no video files could be found. And I have some, yeah, I need to fix this colorization here. Or yeah, this nice. This list also needs to be colored, so printf. Not here, wrong one, this one. Printf this when the less is done. Like this. And no ideal files were generated because no files could be found. Okay, so. And then this just prints a warning. And what if we go strict and say do not ignore anything, just quit if if there was an issue. That's what we get, and that's correct. Yeah. I mean, I could even assign it its own exit code, maybe. Something to think about. But I mean, the search still runs. It's just that the files, the ideal files, could not be generated. Yeah. Like in this case, it doesn't matter if it was all of them or just one of them. It's just gonna quit. Like, hey, it's not all. You can't like not all search results will be in that video file. So that's for to like if you want them all to be there, you can use that so that you're like you have a way to check for that. So I mean, is this like working now, or is there still something I haven't thought of? Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, well, let me see. So I think it's working. What about that exit code things? What exit codes do I have? So I have 0 and 1 for like general success and error, and then if no matches were found, but no errors have occurred, it's exit code 2. I could add like exit code 3 for EDL generation failed. I mean, that kind of makes sense. Like it's a different kind of event. And if there were no matches at all, then would just exit with 2. It would never get to the generation stage because the generation only occurs if there was at least one match. So it's not in conflict with the exit code 2. Let me search for exit 1. What do I have here as far as errors go? Invalid argument. Internal error. Like these are all at an early stage. This is when get opt quits if there was an error parsing, like if there was an invalid option passed, for example. This is if get opt is an older version that's not compatible with this script. I mean, I do have like this thing where it like had errors, so that like there were errors. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, no, okay. So I should actually like still allow for the stats to be generated. Yeah. Instead of like quitting the whole thing, just right here, go exit 1. That's premature, so I can just say that it had errors and had errors. It's sort of like I could do like exit exit 1. I could do exit 3 if that was the only error, that like EDLs weren't be able to be generated, but no other errors have occurred. Kind of apply the same logic as with the searches. Like it didn't have matches, exit 2. I mean, in this case, I could even, yeah, print that error message. actually would make sense to maybe move these errors up to the end of the output, like after the statistics table, if you do generate it, rather than before, because then it's like harder to see. So maybe I can do that. So I can just use this to set like a new variable and say like EDL generation failed due to like only this will produce an exit, like an error. So but then also like Jesus. Okay, because like this part also then depends on whether this ran or not, because like in previous cases no video files corresponding to the following subtype files could be identified. This needs to be somehow rearranged. I mean, this is a common condition between these two, that there's at least some missing video files, and then there's two possibilities: an error or a warning. like if there were some missing video files, then we're ignoring missing files, then we'll have a missing video files warning equals 1, otherwise missing video files error equals 1. Well, and then I can say that, like, on the condition that there is no missing video files error, then proceed with doing the following. Missing video files error. There is none of that, then we can then go on. And we also have this situation where we have like an all video files are missing warning, which again it kind of goes under here. Missing video files, and it's like all video files missing warning equals 1. But we don't need this warning like in this latter case, so I'll change this to an if then construct. So yeah, okay. Here's both our like variables for both of our warnings, and here's the one for our error. And over here, there's a check being done before going on with generation that will prevent the generation in case there was an error. Yeah. So these will need to be moved to the end of the script, but before I do that, let me just change these conditions for them because I now have variables that represent that in a more concise way. So this is a missing files video files error. And then print this and exit 3. This is a missing video files warning. Just or I don't have this here. So and this is only needs to be worried about again in this case. There was such a warning then, and there could also be all video files missing warning. So now I can just move this stuff to the end of the script and hopefully it works. Paste that. Let's put the warnings before the error, because that's more logical. Maybe get rid of some of this white space. Or maybe not, I don't know. It's kind of, yeah. Let's see what happens. Doesn't look right, but oh, it's because the search term is like nothing. It doesn't find anything. So okay, we get the warning that no video files corresponding to the following subtitle files could be identified. This is good. Now let's only search. Let's only have subtitle files with non-existing videos to search in. EDL specifies no segments. Okay, well, I'll look at that in a second. But we get the second warning as well. And if we pass the do not ignore thing, then we get the error, and exit code is 3. So yeah, so what was that thing? That's because all video files missing warnings should also be a condition for generation of EDL files. It's like if there's no such warning and there's none of that, and if this error is not present either, then it's all good, or like not, yeah, then it's all good. Then proceed to with generation. Otherwise, don't, because there's nothing to do. Yeah. There we go. I mean, one thing though, like, it does print it like after the player starts. Maybe I could move the playback to the end of the script, because that would kind of make more sense. Like after everything was printed, then start playback, because there could also be the statistics table that would also get stopped and it tracks before you exit the player. So let's do that. So let's create a variable here and say play DL. I don't know if this is not taken. I think this name does not exist anywhere except here, where I just created it. Play DL. Yeah, that's fine. Now if you just cut that from there, and after all the warnings and like everything else, just like at the very end, we can have if play EDL, then do all of this stuff. Alright, maybe I can leave those lines in like that.
Att man som historielärare måste vara duktig på.
Okay, so that worked. This didn't work as expected, and if we still could play, if there's something to play, but there's nothing to play, then nothing plays. That makes sense. Okay, so this is nice. I think that, yeah, this should be fine. Yeah, I mean, looks good to me. So let me see what I had in these notes here. So we implemented this, unable to create a deal because video file couldn't be identified. That's also referring to the same thing. So okay, this is looking good. I mean, while I'm at it, let me take a look at something, and that is like our algorithm for identifying video files. Now, I was thinking about how I could or maybe, you know what, let me stop this video here and do the algorithm in a separate video, but I'll just restart the recording, and yeah, but let me finish off this video in the normal way. Like, thanks for watching, and yeah, I hope this video was interesting and valuable to you, and see you in the next one.